Chapter 6 Pig and Pepper. She stood looking at the house for a minute or two and was unsure what to do next. Suddenly, a man dressed in fancy clothes that looked like a servant came running out of the woods. He knocked loudly on the door with his knuckles. The door was opened by another servant, with a round face and big eyes like a frog. Both servants had white powder on their hair that made it curl all over their heads. Alice was curious about what was happening and crept a little closer to the woods to listen. The fish footman brought out a big letter from under his arm. He gave it to the other footman and said, "The Queen wants the Duchess to play croquet. It's an invitation." The frog footman repeated the message, changing the words a little bit. He said, "An invitation for the Duchess to play croquet. It's from the Queen." They both bent down, and their hair got mixed together. Alice laughed so hard that she ran back into the woods to hide her laughter. When she looked out again, the fish footman was gone, and the other one was sitting on the ground near the door, and staring blankly up at the sky. Alice went timidly up to the door, and knocked. The footman said knocking won't work, because he's on the same side of the door as you, and the noise inside is too loud for anyone to hear you. The noise inside is a lot of howling, sneezing, and things breaking. "Please, then," said Alice, "how am I to get in?" The footman kept speaking without paying attention to Alice. He said that knocking might make sense if there was a door between them. For example, if she was inside, she could knock and he could let her out. He was looking up at the sky while speaking. Alice thought this was impolite. She thought to herself that maybe he couldn't help it because his eyes are very close to the top of his head. But she thought he should still answer her questions. She asked again, "How can I get in?" The footman said, "I will sit here until tomorrow." The door of the house opened, and a big plate flew out. It almost hit the footman's nose and broke into pieces against a tree behind him. "Maybe tomorrow," says the footman in the same voice, like nothing has changed. "How can I get inside?" Alice asked louder. "Can you come in?" asked the footman. That's the first question. There was no doubt about it, only Alice didn't like to be told. She said to herself, "It's really bad. The creatures argue too much. It makes me crazy." The servant thought it was a good chance to say his words again, with changes. He said, "I will sit here for many days, sometimes yes, sometimes no." "But what am I to do?" said Alice. "Anything you want," said the footman and started to whistle. "Talking to him is not helpful," Alice said hopelessly. "He's very foolish." Then she opened the door and went inside. The door opened into a big kitchen with smoke everywhere. The Duchess was holding a baby and sitting on a stool in the middle. The cook was stirring a pot of soup over the fire. Alice said to herself, "The soup has too much pepper. I can't stop sneezing." There was a lot of it in the air, even the Duchess sneezed sometimes. The baby was constantly sneezing and crying. The cook and a cat lying by the fireplace didn't sneeze, and the cat was very happy. Alice asked, "Why does your cat have a big smile?" She was a little shy because she wasn't sure if it was okay to speak first. The Duchess said the cat is from Cheshire and that's why it's called a pig. She spoke the last word so suddenly and loudly that Alice was surprised and jumped. But then she realized the words were for the baby, not for her. So she felt better and continued talking. "I wasn't aware that Cheshire cats always smile. Actually, I didn't know cats could smile. The Duchess said, "Everyone can do it and most of them do." Alice said she doesn't know of any in a polite way, feeling happy to talk. "You don't have much knowledge," said the Duchess. Alice did not like the way the person spoke and thought it would be better to talk about something else. While she was thinking of a new topic, the cook took the pot of soup off the stove and started throwing things around the room, hitting the Duchess and baby with pots, pans, plates, and dishes. The Duchess didn't seem to mind being hit and the baby was already crying loudly, so it was hard to tell if the objects were hurting it. "Be careful with what you're doing," Alice shouted, jumping up and down scared. "His nose is valuable and it almost got hit by a big pot that flew by." The Duchess spoke with a rough voice, saying that if everyone just took care of themselves, the world would move much quicker. Which one wouldn't be good? Alice said happily, as she got a chance to show her knowledge. "Think about how much work it would cause with day and night. The Earth takes 24 hours to spin on its axis." "Let's talk about axes," the Duchess said, cut off her head. Alice looked nervously at the cook to see if she understood the hint. But the cook was stirring the soup and didn't seem to be paying attention, so Alice continued speaking. "I think it is 24 hours, or maybe 12 hours. The Duchess said, "Oh, leave me alone. I hate numbers." She then started to take care of her baby, singing a lullaby and shaking it at the end of each line. "Speak roughly to your little boy. And beat him when he sneezes. He only does it to annoy. Because he knows it teases." Chorus. In which the cook and the baby joined. "Wow. Wow. Wow." The Duchess sang the second verse of the song while she kept shaking the baby roughly. The baby cried loudly and Alice could barely hear the words. "I speak severely to my boy. I beat him when he sneezes. For he can thoroughly enjoy the pepper when he pleases." Chorus. Wow. 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 "Take care of the baby if you want," said the Duchess to Alice and quickly handed the baby over. "I have to go prepare for a game of croquet with the Queen," she said and quickly left the room. The cook tried to throw a frying pan at her, but missed. Alice had trouble catching the baby. It was a strange-shaped baby and its arms and legs were moving in every direction. Alice thought it looked like a starfish. The baby was making a loud noise like a steam engine and kept bending and straightening itself. So, it was hard for Alice to hold it for the first couple of minutes. Alice figured out how to care for the baby, which was to twist it into a knot and hold its ear and foot so it wouldn't unravel. She took it outside. Alice thought, "If I don't take this baby with me, they will kill it soon. Would it be wrong to leave it here?" She spoke these words out loud and the baby made a noise in response. It had stopped sneezing. Alice said, "Please don't make that noise. That's not polite." The baby made another grunting sound, and Alice worriedly looked at its face to see what was wrong. It had a very turned-up nose, more like a pig's nose than a human one. Its eyes were also getting very small. Alice didn't like the appearance of the baby at all. She wondered if it was only crying, so she checked its eyes to see if there were any tears. No crying happened. Alice said, "If you turn into a pig, I won't talk to you anymore." The small animal made a sad noise, and they didn't say anything for a while. Alice started to think, "What should I do with this animal when I get home?" Suddenly, it made a loud noise that made her look at its face in fear. She realized it was just a pig and thought it would be silly to keep carrying it. She put the small animal down and felt happy to see it walk quietly into the forest. She thought to herself, if it grew up, it would have looked ugly as a child, but it looks nice as a pig. She started thinking about other children she knew that might look good as pigs. Just as she was thinking, if I only knew how to turn them into pigs, she was surprised to see the Cheshire Cat sitting on a branch of a tree nearby. The cat just smiled when it saw Alice. It seemed friendly, but it had big claws and many teeth, so Alice thought she should be careful around it. Cheshire Cat, she said softly, not sure if the name was okay. But it just smiled more. It's happy so far, Alice thought and continued. Can you tell me which way I should go from here? The cat said it depends on where you want to go. I don't much care where, said Alice. It doesn't matter which path you choose, said the cat. As long as I reach a place, Alice said to explain. The cat said, if you keep walking, you'll definitely do that. Alice thought this couldn't be untrue, so she asked another question. What kind of people live near here? The cat said, a hatter lives over there, pointing with its right paw. And a March hare lives over there, pointing with the left paw. You can visit either one you want. They're both crazy. But I don't want to go where crazy people are, said Alice. You can't change that, said the cat. Everyone here is crazy. I'm crazy, you're crazy too. How do you know I'm mad, said Alice. The cat says you came here because you must be. Alice didn't think that showed it. But she continued, how do you know you're crazy? Cat said, first of all, dogs aren't crazy. Agree? I suppose so, said Alice. Cat said, a dog growls when it's mad and wags its tail when happy. I growl when happy and wag my tail when mad. So, I'm angry. I call it purring, not growling, said Alice. Name it however you want, the cat said. Are you playing croquet with the Queen today? I would really like it, said Alice, but I haven't received an invitation. Cat said, I'll be there, and disappeared. Alice was not very surprised. She was getting used to strange things happening. While looking where it was, it came back suddenly. What happened to the baby? Asked the cat. I almost forgot to ask. It changed into a pig, Alice said softly, like the cat had returned normally. The cat said, I thought it would, and disappeared again. Alice waited, hoping to see the thing again. But it didn't show up, so after a few minutes she walked toward the March hare's home. She thought to herself, I've met hatters before. The March hare should be more interesting. And since it's May, it might not be as crazy as it was in March. Just then, she looked up and saw the cat sitting on a tree branch. Did you say pig, or fig? Said the cat. I said pig, Alice answered. It makes me dizzy when you keep appearing and disappearing suddenly. The cat said, okay, and disappeared slowly, starting with the tail and ending with a grin that stayed for a while after the rest was gone. I've seen a cat without a smile, Alice thought, but a smile without a cat. That's the strangest thing I've ever seen. She walked a bit further and saw the March hare's house. She thought it was the right one because the chimneys looked like ears and the roof was made of fur. The house was very big, so she ate some more of the mushroom and grew taller. She was still a bit scared to go closer in case the hare was crazy, and she wished she had gone to see the hatter instead.